Basic economics. Demand. What determine the quality and individual demands? So, what determines how much ice cream you buy each month?
Well, price is a big factor. If it goes up to $20 a scoop, I'd probably buy less or switch to frozen yogurt.
Exactly. That's the law of demand. When price rises, quantity demanded falls. It's a fundamental economic principle.
And what about income? If I lost my job, I'd definitely buy less ice cream.
Right. A drop in income typically decreases demand for normal goods, like ice cream. It's interesting how some goods are considered inferior, like bus rides.
I see. So if frozen yogurt is cheaper, I might buy that instead of ice cream.
Exactly. Those two are substitutes. When the price of one falls, demand for the other often decreases.
And what about compliments? Like if hot fudge goes on sale?
Great point. If the price of hot fudge falls, you're likely to buy more ice cream, too, since they're often enjoyed together.
That makes sense. Tastes also matter, right? If I suddenly love chocolate ice cream, I'd buy more.
Exactly. Tastes are personal and can shift demand significantly. Economists study these changes, even if they can't explain them fully.
And what about expectations? How does that fit in?
Good question. If you expect to earn more next month, you might buy more ice cream today, anticipating a higher budget. The demand schedule and the demand curve. So, have you ever thought about how price affects how much ice cream someone buys?
Not really, but I guess it makes sense. How does it work?
Let's look at a demand schedule. For example, if ice cream is free, someone might eat 12 cones a month.
Wow, that's a lot of ice cream. But what happens when the price goes up?
Exactly. When the price is 50 cents, they might only buy 10 cones. As the price rises, they buy fewer cones.
So, at $3, they wouldn't buy any ice cream at all?
Right. This relationship is shown in a demand schedule, which is like a table of prices and quantities demanded.
And how does that look on a graph?
Great question. The graph has price on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis. The line slopes downward, called the demand curve.
I see. That's because lower prices lead to higher quantities demanded, right?
Exactly. But remember, when we draw this curve, we assume other factors are constant. That's called ceteris paribus.
Oh, so it means other things being equal? That's interesting.
Market demand versus individual demand. So, let's talk about market demand and how it differs from individual demand. Market demand is basically the sum of all individual demands for a product.
Interesting. How does that work with something like ice cream?
Great question. Imagine we have two individuals. One person buys a certain amount of ice cream at a given price, and another person buys a different amount. We add those quantities together to find the market demand.
So, if Catherine buys 3 scoops and Nicholas buys 2 at the same price, the market demand would be 5 scoops?
Exactly. And this concept applies at different prices too. If the price changes, the quantity each person is willing to buy also changes.
What factors affect individual demand?
Individual demand is influenced by factors like income, taste, and the prices of related goods. For instance, if ice cream prices go up, someone might buy less ice cream or switch to frozen yogurt.
And what about market demand? Does it change too?
Yes, market demand changes based on the number of buyers as well. If a new buyer joins, the total quantity demanded increases at every price point.
That makes sense. So the market demand curve shows how total demand varies with price?
Right. It helps us analyze how markets function and how demand shifts with price changes. Shifts in the demand curve. So, let's talk about shifts in the demand curve. Imagine if a new study claims that eating ice cream can help people live longer. What do you think would happen?
I guess more people would want to buy ice cream, right?
Exactly. That announcement would change people's tastes, increasing the demand for ice cream. At any given price, buyers would want more of it.
So, the demand curve would shift to the right then?
That's correct. Any change that raises the quantity demanded at every price shifts the demand curve to the right.
And what if something happens that makes people want less ice cream?
Good question. If something like that occurs, the demand curve would shift to the left, indicating a decrease in quantity demanded at every price.
I see. But what are some factors that can cause these shifts?
There are several determinants. Changes in income, the prices of related goods, tastes, expectations, and even the number of buyers. Each can impact the demand curve.
So, price doesn't shift the curve, but changes in these other factors do?
Exactly. Price changes result in movements along the curve, while changes in other determinants lead to shifts.